the fun.
Hey there, welcome to this episode of Mindful Mamas. I'm your host, Molly Ann Luna, and I have the pleasure of speaking with Shannon Confair. She is a branding photographer from Pennsylvania, and today she's coming on the show to help us discuss how to let go of mommy guilt. So welcome, Shannon. Thank you so much for bringing this topic to the table because I know it's one that a lot of mamas struggle with.
Absolutely, and thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to speak on this because, well, as you said, I think every mom struggles with it at some point, and I know I certainly have through the years. So, I guess I'll introduce myself here. I am a branding photographer. I've had a business for about 10 years now. Started in weddings and portraits, and last year transitioned to doing branding photography and branding strategy for professionals and entrepreneurs. So, with that, I have 3 children. My oldest is 14. I have an 8-year-old, and he's a boy. I have an 8-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter as well. I homeschool my children. And so, running a business, which is now full-time, and homeschooling is a lot to juggle, believe it or not, right? So, I've dealt with a tremendous amount of mommy guilt through the years. And it's not just around my business. It's, I don't know, we always think we're not enough. And we look at what other people are doing and, we get guilt, we feel envy, like we should be doing that. And I really just want to dispel that myth.
Yeah. Wow. Running your own business, working full time, 3 little ones at home that you're homeschooling, and, caring for the household and yourself on top of that. That's a lot to take on. Yeah, I could imagine that, from time to time that mommy guilt pops up. For you, what does that look like?
It's that nagging feeling like, oh, I'm doing this wrong. I'm screwing this up. I should be out there sitting with my kids right now, but I'm back here working on my computer. It's that mindset that what you're doing isn't right and you should be doing something else, and that you're being a bad mom, and that you're not enough. And so for me, what has helped is, number one, I did do some life coach training as well. So going through that and understanding the power of our thoughts, how they lead to our feelings and our actions and our results, has been tremendously helpful. So just becoming aware of my thoughts. And when they creep in, when I'm starting to feel guilty, I'll stop and ask myself why. And then I'll ask myself, is it really true? Because a lot of times our thoughts are just not true. And we allow ourselves to get carried away with them. And so if it isn't true, I can choose a new thought. I can choose a new way to view whatever it is. For me in business, it's having a very clear why. Like, why am I in business? How is this improving my family's life? How is this improving the world at large? What impact am I making? What example am I setting for my children? So as far as business guilt, that works for me. If it's the house, oh my gosh, I have dishes piled to the ceiling right now and I don't want to do one of them. Or laundry or whatever it is. It's getting back to the truth. Well, it's okay. The dishes can sit for a couple hours. I can get to them later. It's not the end of the world. My kids will be okay. They're not going to grow up to be hoarders because the kitchen is messy sometimes. So it's captivating the thoughts and then knowing where to go with them. And as far as, I guess, mommy guilt in general, whatever it is, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm going off track. Can we
No, you're totally on track. I get it. Being a mom is tough. You have so many hats, so many roles to fill, not feel. But, knowing that you are doing something that you love, which is your branding photography, but it's also providing resources and financial stability for your family, and just giving yourself that permission to let those little things go to the side. Like, it's not a big deal if the house gets messy or those dishes pile up. It sounds like what you're doing is you're just being very aware of the thoughts and not letting those negative ones really bring you down, but just recognizing, like, what are your top priorities? Are you meeting that? And just doing the best that you can. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. And it always comes back to your thoughts, and just learning to recognize and control them, and not be a victim to your thoughts.
Yeah. I know letting go of the shoulds, whether you're a mama yet or you're not, even just in like day-to-day life, that can be a really challenging thing. Do you have any suggestions? Yes, be aware of your thoughts, but it sounds easier than I think that it is sometimes to just be like, oh, I'm having this negative thought about what I should be doing. I should be with the kids versus working right now, of how you can really shift that into a more love-based thought.
Well, there's a couple of things. So I know as life coaches we want to stay in the thought, but we can also do something about the circumstance sometimes, So for me, that was one thing I suggest is reading the book, The 5 Love Languages for Children. Oh. It's an amazing book, and in it the author talks about how we all feel loved in different ways. There's one for marriage too. It's good, but one of them is gifts. Some kids feel loved by receiving gifts. Some people do. One is quality time. Some kids feel loved by having one-on-one quality time with you. So knowing your child's love language and knowing that you're fulfilling that for them, I think can really help. For me, I like to have on my calendar, oftentimes our kids come up to us and they ask, like, oh, Mommy, can you play a game with me? Mommy, can we go shopping? Can we do this? Can we do that? And if I just say not right now, then it just continues. It's always not right now. So I schedule that stuff. Sounds like it's silly, but with so many things going on, I have to schedule it. Not that there's no spontaneity, because we still do stuff, throughout the day. But if there's something really special my kids want to do, I'll get it on the calendar. And my middle child, my son, he's a quality time person. So he always wants to do things one-on-one with me or Dad. And so I make sure we do that. It might just be 2 hours and we go to Barnes & Nobles and look around and get a hot chocolate and, but that's really very important to him. And my daughter is gifts. Like if I bring her home something, just a small trinket, it could be chocolate because, she dies for chocolate. She knows I was thinking of her and I love her and that's how she is filled up.
Oh, I love that. I'm getting chills because I think it's important to recognize that each child is their own individual person, and that I love that you brought up the 5 love languages. That's a book that I've read for my marriage, and it's really been helpful, like shedding some light on ways that we can connect more deeply. And sometimes it comes in the simplest things, Mm-hmm. So that's great. That's so powerful, I think. Number one is to recognize that each child has a different language, and then to just go ahead and schedule it. And I would imagine that, also doing the homeschooling, like you have to have a pretty scheduled time frame to kind of carve out and make sure all of those things are done.
So for me, I'm kind of a fly by the seat of my pants person. So strict schedules don't work for me or for my family.
Oh, okay.
With homeschooling, between homeschooling and my business, I have the freedom to kind of juggle.
Okay.
So some nights we might do school at night. Sometimes I might do reading with my daughter while my son is playing baseball. It doesn't have to be school at home, like a public school at home. So as long as they're moving through their curriculum and I see they're learning, that's good for us. And we do also do a weekly class where we're there all day throughout the school year. That just ended a couple weeks ago. So I also know, they're getting that. That's like the backbone of our curriculum. And then we expand throughout the week. And then with business, I try to be a little more scheduled with that because otherwise it's always on my mind. Oh, I have this to do, I have this to do, I have this to do. So my goal is to set aside, a day a week where I do certain things. So Friday might be follow-up Friday. Doesn't have to rhyme, but whatever that is for you, just knowing that it's happening on a day or at a certain time. You don't have to schedule 15-minute increments throughout your day to achieve some kind of balance, right? Because it's balancing. There's always going to be days where you're dedicated to your business for 8 hours that day, and you might only get to spend 3 hours with your kids, and that's okay, because then there's going to be another day where it's all about the kids and you put business aside, or whatever that is for you if you're not in business.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like that you have decided for yourself that having a more fluid, free-flowing type lifestyle and not a strict regimented schedule really is what works best for you and your family. That's fantastic. That's really what the intention behind creating Mindful Mamas and these video episodes are all about. It's about, there is no sorry, I'm all tongue-tied today, but there's no one way that is right or that is wrong for busy mamas. And it's just all about finding that discernment and deciding what works best for me, what works best for my family. That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I think one more thing is, you said discernment, so it made me think discerning between guilt and like conviction. Because if you're feeling like something's off here, sometimes something is off, and you need to, examine it honestly and readjust if needed. So there's been periods of time where I've spent too much time in my business, and I had to reevaluate and decide, is this what I want to do? Do I want to spend this much time here and sacrifice the time over here? Mm-hmm. And at that point, I can make an adjustment. I can feel good about it and move forward. But it's taking action. You can't just keep it in your head. You have to try something, and if it doesn't work, try something else, and it sorts itself out in the end.
I like that. Earlier you had used the word, finding that balance. And for me, that's something that I work with my clients regularly about how to find more balance in their mental, physical, and emotional bodies. And, specifically right now we're just talking about what that looks like just in your day-to-day interactions with yourself, your business, your kiddos. And I think that it's just really important to recognize that just like everything, like there's no like perfect method or modality to achieve that. There will be some times where things are a little bit, one-sided or not, but to be able to have that self-awareness and to recognize like, okay, maybe I need to take a little step back from this project and focus a little bit more energy over here. And, things do tend to kind of level back out. That's great. I'm glad that you've been able to find that for yourself and for your family.
Yeah. And there's days I struggle with it. I mean, honestly, I think it's an ongoing issue. Like, we're never completely rid of that subject, But we can, again, learn to recognize it and move forward instead of staying stuck in the guilt.
Yeah, I love that. I always view guilt as just, that fearful mind chatter that's going on, that it's this story, and a lot of times, like you said earlier in the call, it's not necessarily true. It's our fear speaking, it's our ego speaking. It's really easy for us to identify with that and then just start feeling, less than enough. And I love that you said, okay, like, let's shine some light on it and let's really ask ourselves, like, is this really true? Am I, spending too much time in my work, or am I not spending enough time with my kids, or whatever it is? And if it's really true, then okay, make a shift. And if it's not really true, then just recognize that it's that mommy guilt that's trying to bubble up, and just say, no, like, I'm letting go of the shoulds. That's it's not easy, I don't think, but I feel like when we can have these like honest conversations about it, it helps other mamas feel like, okay, I'm normal. Like,
exactly. Yeah. Because I've not met a mom yet that doesn't deal with this, like, ever. I don't think I've ever met someone that hasn't dealt with mommy guilt on some level.
I think it's really important to just keep reminding ourselves that in each moment, we really are doing the best that we can. And even if maybe it's affecting somebody else, I would like for them to hopefully know too that in this moment, we're each doing the best that we can, and that we'll just learn and grow from it together.
Yeah, I like that. Absolutely.
Yeah, so fantastic. Shannon, thank you so much for popping in today and, shedding a little bit of light on this, of reminding us as mamas to let go of the shoulds, to let go of that mommy guilt, and to just, find your balance and your flow, whatever that is that works best for you.
Absolutely.
If we've got some mamas out there that are interested in finding out more about what it is you do, where can they find you?
So I would say Instagram. I'm Shannon Confair on Instagram, or on my website, shannonconfairphotography.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on today's episode.
All right, thanks for having me.